Hi, my name's Matt and I'm building a Sopwith Camel. This week has been mostly about making wing clips, and I'm actually making some reasonably good progress. So follow along and hopefully you enjoy. Cheers. This is the next clip, A2082, which is a wingtip clip. Goes from the spar and holding on the 3/8 inch tubing going around the wingtip. So it's 3/8 tubing, so I can use the same scrap metal I was using before. Don't need to worry about the direction of the grain. And these are the clips I cut out earlier. So hold it that way. Across the base, imagine across the base there is flat. That's a 35-degree angle. That's a 35-degree angle. So the grain runs that way. But because of the radius I'm doing, which is 3/16 of an inch, it's well above the 3 times thickness required for safe bending. So I'm okay on that side of things. And this is the only one that's clipped off short, and I've already quickly checked it, and yes, I can get a full clip out of that. So that's alright, and that's the other 7. And I need 4 left, 4 right of these guys. So the first step is just to clean off the blue. I applied the blue when I was doing other stuff, but I'll tidy all these up, and I'll stick with using black pen to mark them up, and I'll get those started shortly. All marked up, and I've dimpled all the various holes that need to go into it. So again, 10mm from the centre line there to that first hole. Then 7/8 and 7/8, and then the side 5/8 and 7/8. So this side will be shorter, and it fits nicely on the triangle, which is good. So I'll go cut this out, and I'll do some sanding, then I'll drill out the holes. Pretty much I'm going to make this one through to completion, just to make sure it all works. So all prepped, ready to bend, holes countersunk and sanded, and you might see in the corners here I've relieved those corners by putting a drill through it. So they're not quite sharp edges, just in case. I had the Dremel handy, so it was alright, and I've just marked up this as a little jig, and I'm going to use that for lining this up and remarking the centre line down the centre. So, and that'll get me on course for a decent bend, hopefully. That's looking pretty good. So I'm just about to sand off that piece there, make this part flat, and the point, and make all that flat as well. So we could do it a bit of a tweak. Yeah, it's pretty much right. Cool. Right, it's looking pretty good. So the point's gone, the tag at the back's gone. I'm just going to run over the file for these 2 sides and then get stuck into sanding it. Cool. Ready for a last wipe down with mets and primer. But before I do the primer, I'll crack on and mark up these other ones. Get these to the same stage. Cool. This is actually going quite quick. They're at the point where I'm going to start countersinking shortly. But pretty much I've sanded not that edge or that edge because they were cut, but this inside edge and that inside edge, mostly for alignment, and obviously not all the way because the belt sander won't get all the way in there. but I can get all that after it's folded. Radius off the corners and sanded to the end. Actually missed that one a little bit. That's right. So the next stage, which I'll probably do tonight, is sort out for left hand, for right hand, which needs to include this one, and then countersink these on the appropriate sides, and after that sand and prep for bending. All countersunk and sanded, and a new centre line marked in, ready for bending. Bending's done, all looking pretty good. Actually just got aggressive on it and bent it over 5/16 inch drill bit, and the spring back in the aluminium, I can get this holding right, that's a 3/8 inch drill bit it's sitting on. So the spring back actually widens it out to sit snugly on top of that, and it's not in there firm or anything, it's just nice and snug. So with a bit of luck, you can see that hole in the side there, that's where the copper rivet will go through on the proper tubing. So yeah, getting there. So next stage, do a bit of sanding. Sand the nose, sand the back, make both those flat, and then a final sand, and ready for primer. All freshly undercoated, looking pretty darn good. Happy with those. On to the next clip. Don't have any more aluminium cut up, and this is the last of the aluminium I've got in this size, which has been up for the clips, but I was hoping to also get the inspection hatches done as well out of this, but never mind, I'll do what I can, and I'm keen to finish off the clips. So this is the next one, marked out. Don't know if you can see those marks on there, but there's 4 clips for this one, and these clips go around. You might notice the little cutout above the pilot, sort of a semicircle. These go on either side of the semicircle. So yeah, the only thing that worries me a little bit about this one is that the angle it gives of 35 degrees also notes it's approximate, and the worrying thing about this aluminium is I don't think there's much give in it. So if it's approximate, that could pose a problem later on, but I'm going to make them anyway and just see how we go. Onto the bandsaw, and I've got a brand new blade in this installed today, so it seems to be cutting quite nicely. But I wanted relieving holes in this. Just backtracked a little bit and put holes in, because I'm losing my marks with fingerprints and stuff, so I'll be wearing those off. And I've also scored that bottom edge. Previous ones I've done on the guillotine, so that's been a perfectly straight edge. I'm losing the mark and I want to score on there, so I've got something to sand to. So that's sorted those out. Maybe you can see the score better on that one. In the process of drilling though, I've gone and ruined that one. That hole's out of place. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't pay to do this when you're tired, unfortunately. But hey, I'll have to cut out another piece of metal for that bracket, but I'll do that a little bit later. In the meantime, I'll cut this bottom bracket out. There's the 3 brackets all bent up. This one's a little bit rough. That's the first of the 3, and I've actually bent the bottom, so it's not quite sitting flat anymore. So when I make up that extra bracket, I might do 2 the same size and get rid of that one as well. But these are looking okay. The sides aren't parallel, but I think I'm going to leave that until I've actually got it on the aeroplane. I know I can tweak it on the aeroplane. Meantime, I'll just leave it well enough alone, and I'll get all 3 primed, even though I'm probably going to throw that one away, and add them to the collection. So just looking at the Camel model here, the clips I've been doing, the ones I started with are all trailing edge clips along this back edge, and you can see the different ribs shown in the model. each one of those ends in one of these trailing clips. On the wingtip, there's clips around the back of the aileron here, which are all at funny angles, and this here has got a 3/8 inch tube running from a wooden nose piece to a 3/8 inch tube coming down here, and they've got some funny angles on that as well. And the last one where there's funny angles is around this half circle, and you can see these two ribs here where they join. Well, actually there's those clips, and that's meant to be a 35-degree angle approximate, which is a tad concerning when it says approximate, but I'll worry about that later. If it works, I've got the clips done. If it doesn't work, oh well, just make more clips. I've marked up the aluminium for the next few pieces. I'll be heading down to the airfield later today. See if I can borrow the guillotine again. It's a pointer. So I've got several pieces marked up on this. These pieces here, keep in mind the grain goes that away, and you don't want the bend parallel with the grain. But these ones are also bent around 3/8 inch tube, so that's okay. Down here I've got more clips. They're angle clips, so they're wide enough to accommodate the angle. Here I've got a whole bunch which are replacing ones that I've stuffed up. So these are the narrow ones, just straight bends. These are the wider ones. In fact, I've got these on the bench over here. So I need 15 more of these and 6 more of those. So that's what they're for. I'll get those out of the way. And this last section is, these are quite wide because they've got quite an angle on them and they're a funny shape. But I'll talk more about those when I come back and do them. So this sheet's going to be cut at this point here, straight across, then cut that away, and then once I've done that, then I start cutting this way along here. That way I've got the centre line here to work to when I then cut them once more. And this remainder piece should be enough for 2 inspection hatches, or 2 top plates for the inspection hatch. They also need bottom plates as well. They're 8-inch square, the 2 that I want to do, and they need pressing, so I'll probably stuff them up, but that's part of that experimentation thing. So assuming I get all of these done and I get them all done without making mistakes, then I'll come back at a later point and cut the inspection hatches out of this. I don't quite want to do it yet, because if I mess up the clips, I want to finish the clips. That's more important to me. So yeah, so I'll get that done later. Starting to utilise ice cream containers to store the finished clips in. I'm going to need a few more of these, I think. Better get stuck into eating the ice cream. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Next week it'll be about making more of those wing clips, hopefully the last of them, fingers crossed, and I can then move on to doing other stuff. But yeah, leaving at the point where I'm going to chuck this in the truck and head down to the airfield. I'll see you soon. Cheers.